Okay. My opponent's main claim on human cloning for stem cell research is human cloning can provide the medical world with new and advanced cures for terminal illnesses and research for stem cell research. His secondary claims were what are stem cells and what is stem cell research, and human cloning can help provide cures for certain illnesses such as cancer, and 3, adult and fetus stem cells are ethical. His first secondary claim was not even a claim of fact, it was just background information. It doesn't boost or bring down his argument at all. And his reasoning does the same, it doesn't help or, in the first secondary claim, doesn't help or bring it down. My opponent states that certain stem cells might be able to make other cells in the body, and others have the ability to fix or replace damaged tissue or cells, but keywords like might and ability to shows that it's mostly speculative. And his second secondary claim he provides a bulleted list of illnesses that it might be able to cure, and it was from a source on the internet, word for word, that was outdated by 3 years, and it's important to have updated information on this subject because medicine and technology are growing exponentially. Human cloning could help repair damaged tissues that are infected with diseases. It could, but it would just mean more cloning rather than the real problem, which is finding a cure, which could lead to vaccination and to prevent it in the first place instead of waiting for people to get the cure. And instead of finding the real cure, the real problem is that they'll just keep cloning, like when someone gets sick and it damages the cells inside. From what I understand, human cloning is like they get those stem cells before they're assigned to the organ, and they help repair. But that's just that would leave out finding the cure and research for that instead of finding the actual vaccination. My opponent took a moral standpoint that it is ethical, and because it would be taken from aborted fetuses rather than from the womb, and I think it would be implying that it's promoting abortion, and since they will be contributing to medical research, they might make people think that it's okay to get an abortion, and even then it wouldn't have any practical value. Medical assistants in Planned Parenthood in Whittier say that in the state of California, the first 13 to 24 weeks of conception is the earliest or the latest that they can get an abortion. So the advocate stated that these cells are taken from fetuses, which raises the question if the fetus is developed enough to use the correct cells for stem cell research. The advocate's strongest point in stem cell research is that it can provide cures for diseases, but most of the argument was purely speculative and needed more proof. Dr. Daniel Eisenberg, a writer and professor at Thomas Jefferson University School of Medicine, says that we still do not know if we can successfully clone a human, nor are we sure what practical value can be derived from stem cells. And he's pretty much, the sources pretty much admit that that they don't even know what they would do with it, or that if they can even go through with it all the way. And so
All right, the structure is pretty good to start with. It sounds like you're going to be following the advocate's claims in a pretty direct way. The analysis on the first part was, I think, only partially explained. I'm not quite clear on what it is that you get out of that argument. Later on, you're making an argument that this is very speculative about the information, and I like that argument. It would have been good to have some information on that earlier. You've got a quote on it toward the end, which I think is a good finishing quote, but is there any reason to doubt, for instance, that we're going to get these results? If you had an example of studies or incidents where they had tested any of these things and they were failures, or even if you could point to some of the problems that have occurred with cloning at a whole level, not just a cellular level, but for instance the issues that Dolly the sheep faced or that other cloned animals have faced, that might have given you a little bit more substance on that particular point. You spent some time challenging the date on a particular list. I think the better argument is the one that you come up with back at the end, which is basically it's all still speculative, and we might have a lot of hopes, but a hope is not the same thing as something that we ought to be making an inference from. The argument about treatment versus cure is an okay strategy if those things are mutually exclusive. In other words, if we spend all of our time working on treatments and therefore we're not going to worry about the cure, that would be true, but I don't know that you give us a reason to believe that that's the case. You just kind of presuppose that that's the case, and I think you need some information on that point. The ethics question comes up. I didn't understand what the point was that you were making about abortion and the time period in which abortions could legally be done. I'm not sure how that advances a claim that you're making or refutes a claim that the advocate's presenting. Similar to the first point, that your criticism was that this was just background information. That's what this sounds like to me. Like I said, you do have a general quote at the end that I thought was pretty good, at least establishing what the position was, and it seemed like you kind of just ended abruptly, and you want to be a little bit more graceful than that. All right, thank you.